That's me holding a bone from a dinosaur that hasn't even been scientifically named yet. Why?
Because I'm taking you guys inside the Natural History Museum of Utah's incredible Paleontology Lab and massive fossil collections room. I had the chance to visit there about a month ago for their Dino Fest, and it was one of the coolest paleontology facilities I've ever seen before. So let's head on down to Salt Lake City. We'll see you guys in about 35 minutes. No, I'm just kidding. We'll cut that part out. Go ahead and turn off the cameras. Tyler, how's it going?
Good to see ya.
I'm Tylor Berthasell. I'm the Paleontology Lab and Field Manager here at the Natural History Museum of Utah.
Ready to come back into the lab?
Let's go.
I've been here at NHMU for 11 and a half years now. I myself, personally at our lab here at NHMU, I have worked on between 15 and 20 specimens in my time here. And then as a lab with all my volunteers and amazing helpers through here at NHMU and in Ogden, we've gone through several hundred specimens in my time here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to correct that. We have been through several thousand specimens when you start factoring in everything that we've done over the last decade.
What is this monstrosity?
So what you're looking at is a jumble of bones, and pretty much all these bones are from one specific Triassic critter called an Etosaur. So think of Etosaurs as the reptile equivalent of armadillos.
With this specimen in particular, did you guys help with the excavation of it, or was it brought to the lab to work on?
We actually helped with all the excavation of this. So we go to Ghost Ranch almost every year, and we'll pull out 2 or 3 big blocks like this that weigh between 1,000 to 2,000 pounds. And then we'll bring back several hundred smaller jackets that are about the size of a block like this that have a small isolated bone in there. But we go for 1 to 3 weeks pretty much every year to bring back these specimens for us to work on and research. And then eventually they do go back to Ghost Ranch, New Mexico after we've done the research and the study of them. Cool. And a block like this, so you're looking at close to 500 hours of fossil prep to get it to this point. There's probably about another 1,000 to 1,500 hours before we get all these bones isolated and prepped out. So 1,000 hours is roughly about 6 months if you're working full time on it. So 2,000 hours is not uncommon for these larger blocks. So a good year or 2 is sometimes how long it takes to prep one of these larger blocks.
Do you have any favorite specimens here in the lab you can show us?
So some of the cool specimens that we have in the lab, it's not my favorite dinosaur, but I'll admit it's still pretty cool, is we have chunks of a brand new Tyrannosaur in the lab, and actually the Ogden lab is also preparing several blocks of this as well as they collaborate, as you guys collaborate with us. So we can show off some Tyrannosaur bones that we have here and a little story that we have with them.
All right, let's see it. So this is the new dinosaur.
Yep, so these are some of the pieces that we've finished preparing of our new Tyrannosaur here in the lab. Like I mentioned earlier, Ogden has several pieces of these too. So we have the left dennary to what we think is an adult Tyrannosaur. Ogden just finished preparing the right dennary to this same dinosaur. And one of the cool things that we found out in this quarry as we were digging this Tyrannosaur out is that we actually have 2 Tyrannosaurs, a large adult and a sub-adult, probably an angsty teenager. We'd have to cut open the bones and look at lines of arrested growth to see exactly how old it was when it passed. But we've been finding lots of these 2 dinosaurs mixed together, and doing the science at looking at some of these, it may be one of a new Tyrannosaur, or it could belong to a Tyrannosaur we already know about, Teratophonius. We need to prepare more of the specimen to know for sure which of the 2 Tyrannosaurs it's going to be. These are just a few of the bones that we've worked on. We've prepared several dozen bones that are completely out of their jackets now and fully prepared. And this is a small sampling of some of those. The coolest one though that we've been working on that was finished preparation last year is this humerus right here. So this is the upper arm bone of one of the two tyrannosaurs. And I would love to tell you that I knew exactly which of the two tyrannosaurs it came from, if this was from the adult or the angsty teenager. But I don't know tyrannosaurs as well as some of our other experts, and they haven't seen this specimen yet. But one of the cool things on this arm bone is that there are actually these grooves right here, and these grooves are actually bite marks on the bone.
How do you get the fossils from the field to the lab, and then how do you get them from the matrix that they're in and then out into a space like this where they're able to be studied and able to be displayed?
Rock is heavy.
Yeah.
And you need to get these back to the lab. So you want to try to remove as much rock as possible to get it light enough that you and several volunteers or professionals can actually carry the block out. So you leave just enough rock on to still protect the fossil, but you have it light enough to do it. With big blocks like that, Dinosaur block is eventually, once you've kind of defined how big of a block you have to make, you'll put a layer of wet paper towel down so that when we put the plaster and burlap on, that acts as a separator so the plaster and burlap doesn't stick directly to the bone, damaging our bones. And you'll make your top layer, and it'll be 4 to 5 layers thick of plaster and burlap. And now you'll start trenching around the sides, add your plaster and burlap again to the sides, and then you'll start undercutting at about 6 inches at a time, and then you'll add plaster and burlap to that underside. So eventually it looks like a big giant mushroom.
Oh, cool.
And then when you're ready to, you will crack the stem, and you get as many people as possible. And on the count of 3, you flip it over as fast as you can, and you hope and you pray that you're lucky that nothing falls out the bottom of the fossil after you flip.
Yeah.
Once you flipped it over, if it's a really heavy specimen, a lot of times we'll get helicopter cargo nets, and we'll flip them into the cargo nets. We'll then seal the bottom, cinch up the helicopter net, and at the end of the season, we'll arrange a helicopter to pick up all of our nets through the field areas that we have. They'll then drop them on a flatbed trailer or a truck that we positioned close to the site that we can still drive out. Then we'll drive all these blocks back to the museum, and they'll go into our fossil catalog area in the museum, so where they'll wait until we have room in one of our various labs to then prepare the specimen. And then a lot of them, like these, we prepare using these tools called air scribes. They're basically like miniature jackhammers.
Can you demonstrate how the air scribe works?
Yeah, we'll move to a specimen here where we can show you how all the air scribe works and get an idea of how long it actually takes to prepare these fossils. So one of the things that we were talking about is how we prepare fossils. And you can see in this rock here, all these scratch marks in the rocks here, all those scratch marks are from one pass of this tool right here called an air scribe. Like I said, it's a miniature jackhammer, so that needle goes back and forth, and every pass is one swipe going across with the air scribe. So just to demonstrate here, and always safety first. Blah. As always, safety first. And then we'll turn on our scribe. So this is the sound. And again, the needle kind of goes up and down, and it's the vibration of the needle as well. So we'll slowly start chipping the rock away. From our fossil. Okay. So using this tool, that kind of gives you an idea of how long some of these projects work. We're chipping little flakes of rock away, but it takes usually hundreds to thousands of hours to chip all this rock away. And sometimes you have to be careful because you find unexpected things. So in this block that we've had of this juvenile hadrosaur, we've been finding lots of pieces of skin impression with this dinosaur. So all those little bumps and ridges are the impressions of the skin from around this dinosaur. And we have to be careful because we don't want to destroy that skin, because fossilized dinosaur skin impression is really rare as we go.
And I know that you guys have, because we have a couple of pieces of skin impression at the Dinosaur Park. We used a piece of it in a short that we did a little while ago, and you guys have the rest of the dinosaur and more of the skin impressions that skin impression came from.
Yeah, so we're actually very lucky that a lot of our dinosaurs that we collect from Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument, a lot of the duck-billed dinosaurs for some reason have skin impressions associated with them. We're not entirely sure why. It looks like at this time, 75 million years ago, that there's a wet and dry season. So some of these dinosaurs may be dying during the dry season, kind of mummifying a little bit, where the skin dries out and hardens and is almost like leather. And then the next year when it floods during rainy season, it gets buried. The skin will get sandwiched between two layers of mud or sand, and eventually the skin will rot away, but the impression is left behind in the rock, so that when we split the rock open, we get these impressions of skin along with the animal. So it's almost like they kind of mummify or jerky eyes a little bit before they get buried.
Yeah, mummified dinosaur jerky is not on my list of foods I was planning on eating anytime soon.
I would bet it tastes a lot like chicken, because dinosaurs are related to birds. In fact, birds are dinosaurs, but I'm going to go there probably a little more gamey, more like if you've ever eaten alligator. I bet they'd have a similar taste to alligator.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Tylor. This has been really cool.
You're very welcome.
We're going to head on up and see the collections. So good luck here in the lab, and thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're taking you to their collections next. This is Cam. He's our cameraman. Say hi, Cam.
Hello.
On our way up to collections, I want to show you guys some of the stuff in their museum, because you can even just see it behind me. Their paleontology museum is incredible. So let's take a look. Cam is going to try to put together an Allosaurus skull. Go. Good job, Cam. Just like that, it's done.
Yes.
Well done. They have a wall of ceratopsian skulls.
With a family tree.
It's a family tree of ceratopsian skulls. That's amazing.
Hi, I'm Carrie Levitt-Bazian, and I'm the Paleontology Collections Manager here at the Natural History Museum of Utah. So this is Paleontology Collections. I have it organized into size. So this is the large stuff that we have. And these are all unmovable carriages here. I have them separated also out by the time periods the dinosaurs existed. So we start with the Triassic, the Jurassic, make a corner into the Cretaceous, then a time leap to the Pleistocene, and a bunch of paleobotany specimens. So I'm the collections manager, which means I'm a librarian, but for fossils. So Paleontology Collections is the fossils' first stop when we come in from the prep lab. When we come in from the field, I mean. And so we have, it's a glorified storage area, basically. And so you can actually see in the aisle, not this one, but the one next to it, is full of fossil jackets.
Cool.
Most of the stuff we have from the Triassic are large footprints. This one being the coolest, where we actually have 5 different ichnogenera on one slab: a dinosaur footprint, a tail drag, an aedosaur footprint, some little tiny salamander things, and then some other ones that we not really see, which is pretty cool. And then everything from here down is from Cleveland Lloyd dinosaur quarry, which you'll probably have seen in the past World's Gallery. But we get excited when we find about 2 or 3 bones in a day. There were over 12,000 bones found in one quarry, and most of it was of Allosaurus fragilis, which is Utah state fossil. This is where we store the large sauropods that were also found in that quarry. Because it's a bone bed, everything has its own unique number, and that's how I've arranged it also by element. Here are some fused vertebrae of a Diplodocus. And you can feel your vertebrae in your back. And these are all fused together, which is pretty cool. This is from Dinosaur National Monument. And if we make our way to my favorite dinosaurs, are the ceratopsians. So right there we have a cast of Utah ceratops. So far it's only been found in southern Utah in Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument. This is a cast of the real one, but we do have the holotype in our holotype wall. And then if we look over here, this is Nasutoceratops, another ceratopsian, so far unique to Utah. Nasuto meaning big nose. You can see it's got a big nose there. Big nose, horn face. Nasutoceratops. Those are both casts, but we have the real ones down here of other holotypes, the first of a species ever described, of Cosmoceratops. It has the most horns or most ornamentation of any dinosaur of all time. So it's got a horn over its nose, a horn out of each cheek, a horn over each eye, and a bunch of horns on the back of the frill. The jaw is in life position, which is really cool. That's one of the first things that usually falls off when an animal dies. It's really impressive. Whenever National Geographic comes, they always have me forklift this down, which is terrifying, but it's really impressive to have. And then right next to it, we have Diabloceratops, which is a little bit older, from the Wall-Wheat Formation at 79 million years old. But what's really cool is it's the only one in the world. It's missing the right side of its face, so that makes it even more special. It is a holotype of the species Diabloceratops eatoni. It has a big nose. We're missing the lower jaw. And that's its eye hole. That's its orbit. But this hole is supposed to be there. But that hole is not supposed to be there. So it either got bit in the face or it had a bone disease. But it's really amazing because it's the only one in the world and we can't even compare it to the right side of its face. Which is nuts. Also from Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument are these Parasaurolopi, or whatever the plural of Parasaurolophus is.
I always thought it was Parasaurolopa people.
There you go. So we have 4 different skulls, this one being the most complete one. I put a googly eye in there in order to indicate which one is the orbit. But this one, the lower jaw is in life position, the teeth are still there. These are the dinosaurs that we're pretty sure is the only ones that we know what sound they made, whether it was honking noises. They had this amazing crest that was their premaxilla and their nasal that was elongated to make this really cool crest that would make horn sounds.
Just kind of a side question on any of the Parasaurolophuses. Have you ever found any that had hollow nasal passageways, or have they always been filled in by sediment?
Oh, I see what you mean. I think they've always been filled in with sediment. That's more of a Tylor question. This is his area of expertise. You can see that one right there that has the cast, the rubber on it. That had just the impression of the crest on it, and so they made a replica of that impression to kind of flesh it out of the area of the bone that was actually missing.
Cool.
So far, I think they've only been infilled, because then otherwise it'd be crushed. Here's a shining star. I know this will be one that you'll like. This is a Tyrannosaur. So this is a new species of Tyrannosaur, not described yet to science, from Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument. So about 76 million years old. New species. So it hasn't even been named yet. Because we have a couple Tyrannosaurs here in Utah. We have T-Rex, we have Lythronex, we have Teratophonius, but they think that this is enough differences between 2 Teratophonius currii that they're going to name it a new species. But it's so cool. The teeth are still there. They have serrations on them. The nasals are still there. Like, it is incredible. And it was really fun to be a part of that dig.
That's cool. That is a really, really impressive specimen.
Isn't it so pretty? And then these are footprints that were actually found in a coal mine. They were actually falling through the coal seams and hitting the miners, which is sad. But now we have them.
Getting stepped on by a dinosaur as a miner?
Even after even after dinosaurs have gone extinct, the terrestrial ones. But yeah, these are the footprints, so those are pretty cool. And then in my timeline here, the dinosaurs go extinct and it makes way for mammals to get really big. So we have an oreodont, an ancient rhinoceros, a mammoth skull next to a mastodon skull, and some of their limbs.
Cool.
So those are some of the highlights of the oversized collection.
That's really, really amazing.
I think so.
Quick, why don't you turn around and just get some B-roll of that?
That's so pretty.
It's so good. So some of you guys might be wondering how many fossils they have in their collections room, because they have a lot of fossils, and I was curious too, so I asked Carrie, and here's what she told me.
There's 65,000 vertebrate paleontology fossils. There is 4,000 invertebrate paleontology fossils. There's 4,000 paleobotany fossils. There's 3,000 ichnology fossils, and about 2,000 minerals.
Now, this section of the collections room was pretty cool with some of their larger specimens, but Carrie also showed us their holotype aisle, which is an aisle of shelves full of holotype specimens, which, if you don't know what a holotype is the first specimen found of a new species. So Carrie's going to take us there next and show off some of their coolest holotype specimens.
This is not as impressive, but it's kind of cool. This is a Teratophonius skeleton that we have, and what's really neat about it is we have the femur here, the tibia here, and then the fibula, and it's actually broken. So we have 4 specimens of Tyrannosaurs, 4 skeletons of Tyrannosaurs, and 2 of the 4 have broken fibulae. So I like to think that maybe it was because of an ankylosaur tail club hitting it. So one of you guys liked ankylosaurs.
That would be me.
This is Echinocephalus johnsoni. So the ankylosaurs are the dinosaurs that have armor everywhere, even their eyelids had armor. And they had a tail club that had fused vertebrae with these ossified tendons in life. And they were just basically walking tanks, which is very exciting. And this one is Echinocephalus johnsoni. So far, it's only found in Utah. This is a replica of the skull. The real one's down there. But you can't see any sutures in it because it's completely covered in that armor. You can see this is its orbit, this is its nasal, and then if you flip it over, you can see the tiny teeth, little bit of teeth holes. And then they are the ones that have a tail club. And the fun fact, I found the tail club. This is a replica of it. The real one's really heavy and up there. But it had this bone, and then it would have been covered in keratin, like your fingernails. And then this is part of the ossified vertebrae and ossified tendons that would create a hammer, a huge weapon that they would use to smack things and intimidate their people that are trying to eat them. So they were just herbivores that wanted to be left alone. I know some humans like that. So that one would have been attached to those. So those are its fused vertebrae with those ossified tendons attached. Here's some more of their vertebrae. And then this is part of its lower jaw. So this is a real one. That's the replica, but you can see the tiny, tiny alveoli where the teeth would go. And then these guys had armor. And so these are its necklaces. They had bony necklaces, bony neck armor that would protect its neck. If you think of modern predator-prey relationships, if a predator is going after something, they go for the jugular. They would not be able to do this because they literally have a bony necklace of armor that would protect them. Wow. So I'm pretty sure that if a T-Rex was coming at it, it could just like hunker down and be like, I'm waiting for you. Like, unless they could roll it over and eat the underside. I don't know how. If they could get close enough with that tail club. And we named it Johnsoni after Randy Johnson, who's one of our volunteer preparators. So we were talking about how important volunteers are. They are amazing. They do field work, they do preparation, they do curation, they do digitization, they do databases. So
I met him at Dino Fest, and he mentioned about how they named the dinosaur after him.
Yeah, that's a big bragging right for sure. So it's not all dinosaurs all the time, even though I like it that way. This is a really adorable turtle. This is Arvina Keeley's Goldeneye, once again named after a wonderful volunteer preparator, Jerry Golden. And Arvina Keeley's is Bacon Turtle. So they thought that this looked like a pig, and so Josh Lively named it Bacon Turtle. Look at its cute little face. It's so cute. Technical term.
Cute.
Eyes. Yep, thank you. His eyes and his nose. It's so well preserved. It has inner ear bones preserved, which is amazing. It has a lower jaw. The hyoid bone is still there. The neck vertebrae are still there. Like, it's so cool. And we find turtles all the time. We call them exploded turtles. We find them everywhere. But they're mostly just parts of the plastronic carapace that exploded. Mm-hmm. So to find a plastronic carapace, complete skull and an articulated forelimb was pretty cool. Ceratosaurus, you've probably heard of Ceratosaurus, so a meat-eating theropod dinosaur from the Jurassic. This is from Cleveland Lloyd, and it's actually the best preserved Ceratosaurus in the world, which is very cool. And it has pretty complete maxilla, premaxilla, and dentaries.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I think so. I really like this premaxilla because usually they're not completely fused, and so it's really cool that this one has been preserved completely fused together. And then Ceratosaurus is the only one, or one of the few theropods, meat-eating dinosaurs that had armor. So it had armor down its spine, and we have that here. I do want to show you one more, even though we're going to end on a plant, but it's a really cool fossilized plant. I do love being the librarian, but for fossils, and so I like it when it's not all dinosaurs all the time. But this one is so cool. I would love this to be like wallpaper or a tattoo or something. Isn't it pretty?
Oh, that is.
Isn't that so pretty? So it's a relative of a willow. It's called Pseudosalix, and it has 2 leaves preserved in a flower.
So well preserved.
So pretty.
So all of the racks of fossils that they have in here, or most of them, these ones are mounted, but most of the racks of fossils that they have in here are mechanical. They can move around so that they can access them a little bit easier. And we're gonna go and take a look at how that works.
Yeah, we can do it in the oversized because that's more impressive.
Okay, go ahead. Guys, that was pretty cool. Thanks for watching, guys. Super special thanks to the Natural History Museum of Utah for helping us make this whole thing work. If you're still watching the video at this point, props to you. But don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to see more cool videos like this, you can find them on our channel here. I'll also put a link to the Natural History Museum of Utah's channel in the description. Again, thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.